Have you ever seen the viral videos of the young kids that are doing the Rubik's Cube, and they're doing them like this? And that 4 seconds was 40 years of my life being told that I had a major depressive disorder or I had PTSD symptoms. I literally stumbled into a lecture, and a family affected by a disorder I didn't even know about got up and started describing the behavior of their young daughter. And it was like that Rubik's Cube being slammed down on the desk, solved. I just put my head in my hands and I thought, how did this happen? How did I have 40 years of people telling me it was this and it was that? And I would say to them, no, there's something else. There's something else going on that is causing me to react to things that nobody else is reacting as strongly. It's like I had an engine of a rocket ship and everybody else had a hot air balloon. And I couldn't dial it back to the hot air balloon. And I thought, this is more than major depression. And when that lecture finished, I'll never forget where I was sitting, but I literally put my head in my hands and said, it all makes sense now. And for a long time, I was mad at the world. I was mad at the system that decided that the label was not effective. Are you kidding me? I read every book on depression. I researched, I lived my life thinking that it was depression. Certainly that was a symptom, because when you've been unable to manage your life, then of course you're depressed. Of course you feel defeated. Of course you get home and you go, how did this all fall apart? How did I not be able to not quit my job? How did I get so emotional that I couldn't dial it back? How is everybody else able to dial it back? And when I started to read information on borderline, sometimes I would just close the book because I had nothing left. I thought, I got nothing left. I have to start again. I've lived a life full of loss. I spent my whole life being invisible. I have no identity. I remember reading about the sensation of feeling empty, and I thought, bingo. I looked to other people to tell me who I was. I had no idea who I was. I was an unwanted child, to make it really simple. And so I was told I was a piece of garbage. And I know a lot of us have, so I'm not saying anything that's other people haven't suffered from. But it kind of like was a perfect storm. I had no relatives because my mother is also a borderline, but she's a psychopath. My father is a narcissistic alcoholic. So there was a bit of understanding that anyone coming out of what I came out of, and I was severely bullied at school. So I was stressed all the time. I would go to school and I was stressed. I would come home and I didn't know where to go because none of it was good. So I wasn't surprised that I had a depression. The diagnosis of borderline it made me realize that the brain obviously was wired in a way that was affecting my emotions. It wasn't my mind or my heart or my soul doing these things, even to myself. The self-harm, I did not cut. I can't handle blood. But that didn't mean I didn't eat and eat and eat to try to calm myself. And certainly not getting the proper diagnosis so that I could recognize the maladaptive behaviors I was relying on just to get through the day, that are now very hard to combat. I have terrible time with my checks and balances. And people look at me and think I don't have an issue. I have a lot of coping behaviors that every day I have to work at not falling into that cesspool of avoidance, because I'm living a life of loss, like I said, quiet desperation. I didn't know why I had such ambivalence. You know, I had strong desire to get married and yet canceled the date 3 times. I had a strong desire to have children and yet I aborted my husband's child. If I had known that this was typical, brain transmitter problems, then I would have understood why I was having those feelings. It wasn't my heart saying this. But when you're told that if you take this antidepressant, you will be better, and then you're not, and you get 28 rounds of medication with horrible side effects, and you're going, something is not right. Something else is going on here. Nobody was telling me that it could be something that really is wired genetically. For sure, there are other members of my family that have it. And to tell you the truth, I have not told very many people. Because if you were to compare me to those other members, it's not me. I have the inward quiet. I don't rage. I rage against myself. I deny myself happiness. I wouldn't have quit these jobs. I would have understood that I had to count to 10 and walk away. I would look at people's faces and try to figure out what they were doing. I figured everybody was out to get me. It's sad. And I was obsessed with suicide. I really never thought I'd still be here. But now I know that that's part of the disorder. This compulsion to end it, to just say, this train of life is going to hit a wall for all of us. I'm just getting off the train early. I've given it a good shot. And try to look at why I should stick around. I used to be the queen of avoidance, and I would never run unless I had a Walkman on. I'm aging myself. And when I first, after the DBT skill set, and I started to run again, because I know exercise really helps my brain, I just stopped like right away because I would ruminate and obsess and couldn't, because I didn't have a Walkman anymore, so I didn't have that music to distract me because I was always avoiding my feelings. And then I went through a week or 2 after the training and I would cry. And then I stopped because I said, look at the sunrise, isn't it beautiful? And then look, feel your feet on the sand and how it's helping your balance because you're aging. And I would say, I'm so proud of you for getting up and getting out, and isn't it beautiful, and look at that dog. And before, if the dog came up and interrupted my gait, I wouldn't be happy because I need to, and I was like open to the fact that he jumped up on me and it was okay. And so I was so happy that I was able to take those moments and slow it down. And I still, every once in a while, I'll get an earworm in my head and I cannot turn it off. And then I don't beat myself up about it. And I do a lot of deep breathing. I get that diaphragm working and don't do the shallow breaths. You think I'm put together. I am so not put together. I'm barely hanging on, but I'll tell you, when I went to try to get a job because I could not handle rejection, I literally walked down the street with my resumes, and that's all I said to myself: feelings aren't facts. You can do this job. You'll be fine if they say no. Because now I kind of am getting that empty feeling filled up. I'm not looking for other people to tell me who I am. I can stand still in my, but and I doubt that this process would have been as long had I gotten the help 40 years before. This has really been, and I'm hoping that once I get up to speed, I can help Lynn and Mike, because it's all about, if I had had that presentation in my school, Lord knows what difference it would have made for my brother and I. We would have, it's sad.